Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024, and we are excited to be kicking off the Ohio Business Matchmaker 2024, our webinar series, actually leading up to the Matchmaker. So thank you so much to those that are joining us today. My name is Shonda Harris, and I'm a business opportunity specialist with the Columbus Small Business Administration, better known as the SBA. Again, we are excited that we are in matchmaker mode, even though the actual event is not going to take place till May. We are always excited for this webinar series as it leads up to the actual matchmaker. So again, welcome. We are excited that you've joined us today. And we recognize that some of you may be new to doing business with the government. Some of you may be seasoned pros, or some of you have been doing this for a couple years. But regardless of what age or stage your business is in, I'm sure everyone on today's webinar will learn something. We are excited that the Matchmaker is the Ohio's largest government contracting event in Ohio, and it allows small businesses like yours to be able to connect to government contracting opportunities. So those that are selling goods and services, and you want to be able to sell to a federal, state, city, or county, or local government, this is the place for you. So again, we want to welcome you. Today's webinar is making the most of the Ohio Business Matchmaker. Well, you'll have an opportunity to learn how to actually maximize your participation in this event, and then also learn everything about the event if you're new, from registration tips to best practices on how you can prepare for before the event and after the event. So we have two presenters today that are going to be able to give you those tips and best practices on what you can do to get best prepared. With that, I'm going to give a couple of housekeeping items, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenters. This event and these webinars is actually a collaborative effort between some wonderful partners. So we are grateful that we are able to bring this event to you. Again, I'm with the SBA, Small Business Administration. So we partner with the Ohio Department of Development, ODOD, Apex Accelerators, the Small Business Development Centers, and the Minority Business Assistance Centers. And we're grateful to have such wonderful collaborative partners to be able to bring this event and these webinars to you. With that said, two of our presenters today are Mr. Jim Lately, who is the Deputy Chief and also the SBDC Statewide Director in the Office of Small Business and International Engagement at the Ohio Department of Development. He will present first, and then Mr. Joey Scott, who is the Ohio Apex Accelerator Statewide Manager. So we're going to ask, as they are presenting, if you do have questions, if you can go ahead and type those in the Q&A section, not the chat, but the Q&A section, and somebody will be monitoring that, and we'll pose the question at a good break, and then we'll also take questions at the end. Also, if you want to know, the webinar is being recorded, so both the link for the recording as well as the presentation slides will be posted to the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, as well as the Apex Accelerator at Ohio University, their website as well. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Jim Lately, and he will go ahead and kick us off. Jim, it's in your hands.
Thank you so much, Shonda. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you so much to everyone who is joining us this morning or joining us via a future viewing on the recording. We're excited that you're taking the time to learn a bit about the Matchmaker and the opportunities it can potentially help develop for your small business. Again, I'm Jim Lately. I'm here at the Ohio Department of Development. I have the privilege of managing our statewide Small Business Development Center program. And this is one of our signature events that is really focused on supporting the small business community here in the state. we're going to move through our slides pretty quickly this morning, and we're going to get started with kind of our learning objectives. First and foremost, we are going to present as to what this event is and how it can potentially be helpful for your business. We'll talk a little bit about determining if this is the right event for you, how to register, and most importantly, how to prepare for this event. I've been a part of this event for over a decade, and I have to say it is by far one of my favorite events, mainly because it's great to see people 1 year meeting with government buyers and to see those same folks coming back the next year, excited, talking about the new business opportunities it created, talking about specific contracts. Just a couple of years ago, there was a gentleman who owned a small painting firm. He came back the next year and had pictures of the ODOT barn that he had just finished a big project painting. And those are the types of stories we love to hear. That's the type of success we want to see happen for your small business. So we are going to hop right into really just talking about what this event is. So what is the Ohio Business Matchmaker? As Shonda kind of previewed, it's a very unique event. It's kind of a one-of-a-kind event here in Ohio. And the mission of the Ohio Business Matchmaker is to really open doors and make connections between small businesses and contracting opportunities at the federal, state, and local government level. If you're aware, the government contracting marketplace is colossal. Federal government alone is spending upwards of $700 billion a year on practically everything. That includes goods and services. When you look at the state budget, we're talking about tens of billions of more dollars. And there are ample opportunities for small businesses to get engaged or even start in the government contracting marketplace with local government contracting opportunities, be that at a township, a city, or a county. There's lots of opportunity, but there are also high barriers to entry into that government procurement marketplace. Governments are typically a little more reserved in terms of who they do business with, so they are not the biggest risk takers. And it is very hard to get face time with these decision makers who are in charge of contracts worth essentially billions of dollars. And so this event is about breaking down those barriers. Before the Matchmaker, as we mentioned, we've got dozens of webinars to help prepare folks for the event. But the Matchmaker itself is really about putting you in that unique opportunity to pitch your business to a government buying decision maker, and to also, gain information from them about potential end users, figure out if you're a good fit for potential contracts with that agency, and even learn about upcoming contract opportunities. Oh, there's a few things that make the Ohio Business Matchmaker unique. One of those is, well, first and foremost, it's one of the largest small business focused government contracting events in the Midwest. Everyone who comes to this event, all of the buyers, they are there to meet with small businesses. A lot of the buyers are interested in meeting with specific set-aside categories. So in addition to small, whether you're woman-owned, minority-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned, there's a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of interest in government agencies diversifying their supplier base. Also, this event is really designed to be approachable for folks who are not just existing government contractors, but folks looking to learn more about government contracting and get their foot in the door. So that is kind of the common understanding of everyone who's going to be at this event. And that's also the common understanding of the folks putting on this event. So as Shonda mentioned, it is put on by a team. It's a huge collaboration between the state of Ohio, the Ohio Department of Development, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and all of our partners and programs, including the Small Business Development Centers, the Apex Accelerators, and Minority Business Development Centers here in Ohio. The folks putting on this event aren't here about making money. They are here about making successful opportunities for your business. And it is a unique opportunity, a unique team putting this together, and it's a unique partnership that makes this a successful event year after year. Getting into the details, so the event will take place May 8th and 9th in person at the Nutter Center at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. Every year we get asked, why is this in Dayton? Why isn't it centrally located? Or why doesn't it move up to Cleveland? The real reason is Wright State University is right outside of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That is one of the largest purchasing entities in the federal government, Air Force Material Command, Air Force Research Lab. They are all located on site, except they're behind really large fences on a military base. This is a great opportunity to get those folks off base and meeting with you one-on-one. Additionally, it's short drive from Ohio, so all of the state agencies that are located in Columbus, as well as Defense Logistics Agency, is in Columbus. So it's a really unique opportunity. It's a great location, and it really maximizes the number of government buyers who are going to be participating in this event. Also, ample hotels around it, and Wright State University has been a great partner with us in ensuring that we can keep this a low dollar event. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the registration process. So who should attend? So most of the folks on this webinar are probably small businesses, though we may have a couple government buyers who are interested in learning more about the event. Really, if you're a small business and you have some success, so this probably isn't the event if you are a brand new small business and you barely have any sales under your belt. But if you're an existing small business, you've been around a couple of years and you're ready to make that jump into the government contracting space, this is the event for you. Additionally, if you're a successful government contractor, so if you have a track record and history of selling to the federal, state, or local government, or perhaps you've just got local and state experience but are ready to scale up to federal government contracts, this is absolutely the event for you. Government buyers, if you are looking for a diverse supply chain, if you are looking to meet some of your metrics in terms of doing business with disadvantaged businesses, some of the set-aside categories, be it women-owned, minority-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned. We do a lot of recruitment, and a lot of small businesses will be attending this event from those categories. And the same goes for prime contractors. So these are large companies that do direct business with the federal government. They are incentivized and required in some cases to have subcontracts for the small business community, and they will be at this event looking to meet with small businesses as well. So we also get the question, well, is this the right type of event for me? Is the government buying what I sell? And in almost every one of those cases, the answer is yes. You would be surprised. The list, I will say, is a lot shorter for things the government doesn't buy than it is for the list of things they do buy. So if you're still unsure as to whether this could be a good benefit for you, we're going to talk about some resource partners a little later in this presentation that you can sit down with and actually talk to a person to evaluate whether this is a good event for your small business. But like I mentioned before, if you're just starting out, if you're a brand new small business, you may still find this event valuable, though you aren't going to be walking away with government contracts in hand. This is really about creating those first introductions, that foot in the door, that is going to create that long-term relationship that could ultimately end up in a government contract. Also, we make this event reasonable and approachable. So again, you don't have to have any experience in the government contracting space to attend. And that is going to be the understanding of everyone who's participating in this event as well. We're going to briefly talk about the types of entities that are there. So every year, we have typically around 400 to 600 small businesses in attendance, and we typically have a couple hundred buyers that are representing 60 to 70 government entities. They're kind of split into three categories, our federal, state, and local. And from local governments, we're going to have townships, we're going to have cities, we're going to have quasi-governmental agencies such as transit agencies like COTA from here in Columbus. Airports regularly attend, so folks who are looking to do upcoming contracting or service contracts with folks like John Glenn International or Rickenbacker. And then we also have a large number of county governments that are there as well. From the local governments, or from the state government standpoint, almost every state agency will be in attendance. The two largest purchasers are the Department of Rehabilitations and Correction and the Department of Transportation. But we will also have community colleges, state universities, and the Ohio National Guard, all of which, again, are interested in diversifying their supply chain. And then from the federal standpoint, the two largest agencies that we're going to have there are Air Force Materiel Command, Defense Logistics Agency, EPA, and really this is where you have the broadest level of contract opportunities. Really, any product or service, growing increase in services. If there's opportunities for engineering firms to partner, there'll be a lot of folks interested in facility support. Those are things like janitorial services, and they can also provide some insight as to some of their other prime contractors that you might have potential opportunities with. And then last but not least, we have our prime contractors, as I alluded to before. These are large organizations that contract with the federal government that are going to be looking to meet set aside goals with subcontracting opportunities. This is also a great way for you to get your foot in the door to gain some government contracting experience by partnering with a large corporation as part of that. The event format itself, one of the reasons we have this at Wright State University is because to make this event successful, we need a whole lot of floor space. And so basically we take over the basketball arena at Wright State University, and the event is run as a reverse trade show or a reverse trade fair. That basically means small businesses will be meeting government buyers who are at tables. So each buying agency will have a table with a set location, and throughout the course of the day, you will have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with those buyers at that table over the course of the matchmaker. This event is high volume. There's a lot of activity going on. We're typically facilitating about 2,000 meetings between small businesses and government buyers over the course of the day through those quick, rapid one-on-one meetings. So we'll talk a little bit more about the agenda here in a moment. Also want to mention there are exhibiting opportunities. So if you want to bring a product, if you want to display something, or your audience may be small businesses attending this event around the periphery of the venue, there are exhibiting tables as well, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the registration section. So we'll quickly go through the agenda. Again, this event is May 8th and 9th. May 8th is a half day primarily of training. So from noon to 4, there are going to be a number of small business roundtable discussions, panel discussions where we'll talk about government contracting opportunities. You'll be able to hear from small businesses that have had success. You'll hear from prime contractors and federal government agencies about their expectations and working with small businesses. This also serves as our setup time for the exhibition hall. So between 2 and 5, buyers and exhibitors can set up in the main hall. And then we have a reception going on that day starting at 4:15. The reception is really important because it's one of the opportunities for small businesses to actually meet with other small businesses. While this event is focused on selling to the government, it's a great opportunity for small businesses to potentially find businesses they can team with. If you're unfamiliar with government contracting, there's a lot of teaming that goes on where small businesses will come together to build capacity and compete for larger contracts that they individually may not be able to perform against. So the networking is just as valuable as the event itself. And then the second day, May 9th, is really about some opening ceremonies, some introductions. We usually have a great briefing from the Air Force about the contract opportunities available with them. And then we are on for matchmaking from 9 until 3:30 with a break for lunch. If you notice on the agenda, you see there are items called scheduled matchmaking and unscheduled matchmaking. That is another thing that makes our event pretty unique amongst these types of events. So when we talk about scheduled matchmaking, these are pre-scheduled one-on-one meetings between government buyers and small businesses. Through the registration process, you will be able to be matched to government buyers and select specific time slots to be able to meet with them. But the thing that makes our event unique is the unscheduled matchmaking portion. So both in the morning and the afternoon, there will be a period of time when those folks who may not have matched or may feel like they've got a business proposition for a specific agency and they want to get in front of that agency, where you'll be able to meet with any agency on a first come, first served basis. So that's a unique opportunity, and anyone will have the opportunity to potentially meet with any government buyer or prime contractor, whether it's in a scheduled, pre-scheduled match meeting, or whether it's during one of the open scheduling systems, one of the unscheduled meeting periods where anyone has the opportunity to sit down with the buyers. So to register for this event, please visit ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com. If you're a buyer, registration's open now. Buyers are government agencies. So these are contracting officers of government agencies. These are large prime contractors. A buyer is someone who wants to do business with the small business community. Registration is open now for you. There is no cost for our buyers to attend. You will get access to a table, or as many tables as you need, depending on the number of folks you have attending. You will be able to create, we'll work with you on creating your profile and identifying companies that will meet your need within our matchmaking platform. So you can register now. As I mentioned, you'll have access to all the programming. You'll have access to the networking, as well as we'll be feeding you on the day of the matchmaker. Supplier registration is going to be opening within the next week and a half. So please stay tuned to the Matchmaker website. So again, we talk about this event being for the small business community. Another huge differentiator for this event is the cost. If you register during our early bird period in the first couple of weeks, it's only $99 to attend. If you have been to any federal government industry days, typically, they're not bringing this many buyers together. They're not bringing the diversity of buyers together. And it's usually focused on a specific industry at a time. And those events will cost $600, $1,000, $1,200 to attend. We want this to be approachable. This is about opening doors. So we are just looking to cover our cost with this event. So registration for small businesses or suppliers is only $99. That gets you access to the event. That will allow you to have access to the matchmaking portal. You'll be able to attend the half day of training as well as the entire matchmaker day on May 9th. The other category we have are for exhibitors. And again, this is someone who wants to exhibit at the event. So you will have the same access to buyers as anyone registering as a supplier, but you will have a designated table. You'll have access to power, and exhibitors. There's kind of two flavors of exhibitors. Typically, exhibitors are businesses that may have larger products that they want to be able to put on display. During your matching period, you could, go over to the buyer table and then have them come over to your exhibition table where you can showcase your product or service to them in a more visual way. But a lot of our exhibitors are also there on the small business front. They're interested in sharing a product or service with the large volume of small businesses that will be at this event. So stay tuned to the website. There will be press releases going out. If you visit our website, and you can send a question in with your email, we can make sure that you will be notified as soon as supplier and exhibitor registration are open, but that's going to be here in the next couple of weeks. So a little bit about the registration process. So it's kind of a three-stage process. Initially, you'll be purchasing your ticket. We will then send you some basic information and tell you to stay tuned, and you will receive a link that is a specialized link for you to access our matchmaking portal. So we talk about that as establishing your profile. And then the third part, as we get a couple weeks out from the event, as we've got everyone registered, we will ask you to actually go into the matchmaking portal and schedule your actual meetings. The profile isn't too difficult to set up. You're going to need some basic information, your company information. You'll have opportunities to upload your capability statement. We'll talk a little bit more about that. You are going to want to know what your NAICS code is. If you're unfamiliar with that, that's the North American Industry Classification System. If you aren't familiar with that, don't worry about it. We've got resources that can help you with that as well. So you're going to create a basic profile that is going to allow buyers to look at your profile. So this is part of your image for this event. And please be sure to create that profile. That's going to let buyers know the services or goods that you offer, and that's going to allow them to pre-select you as a potential match for them. As I mentioned, as we get closer to the event, you'll get follow-up notification from us that the matchmaking portal is open. So as I mentioned, buyers can request matches with suppliers and request those meetings. You as a supplier can also request a meeting with a buyer. So again, this takes place about a couple weeks out, so you'll definitely want to pay close attention to your emails. And as soon as that portal opens, you want to be ready to go in and start making those matches. So there's a couple things we talk about the day of the event. We get the question is what do I bring? First and foremost, bring some comfortable shoes. As I mentioned, especially on the 9th day, the day of the matchmaking, it's a lot of walking inside a really large basketball arena. It's a pretty fast pace, so you definitely want to bring comfortable shoes. You also want to bring a capability statement. If you're not familiar with what a capability statement is, it's commonly used in government contracting. It's essentially a resume for your company. They're usually 1 or 2 pages, front and back. And we'll talk more about that and some resources for you. So if you don't have one now, don't worry about it. You've got access to both individuals and training that can help you prepare that for you. Also, bring business cards, a whole lot of business cards, not only to share with the government buyers, but also to share with the other small businesses, because you never know where that next business opportunity might come from. If you have small samples, so suppose you have a specific product, if you have small samples that you would want to bring that you can carry on your person, that's fine. But if it's anything large or heavy, we would probably recommend that you be an exhibitor, or maybe you bring photographs rather than bringing that actual item to lug around with you all day. As I mentioned, it's reverse trade show format, so you're the one who's going to be moving, and you're going to be sitting down at the different buyer tables during your meeting times. Thankfully, I don't have to go into everything you need to do to make the most of this event. Joey, who's going to be presenting right after me, is going to really get into a lot of those details. But I really want to establish that this event is what you make of it. It can be very beneficial for you if you're able to take the time and do some of your homework in advance of the event. That includes preparing your materials, having a great capability statement, researching some of the buyers that are going to be there, and kind of practicing your pitch to the specific needs of that entity. Attending these trainings. As I mentioned, we've got a whole series of webinars that are going to be helpful for you. But really, I just want to impress upon you, this event is about what you make of it. And the folks that we see that have the most success year after year are the folks who come to this event prepared. And as I mentioned before, one of the great things about this event is it's one of the few matchmaking programs across the country that really is focusing on preparing you for this event. And we've got a number of ways we do that. First and foremost, we've got a great series of webinars coming up. This is the first webinar. These will all be recorded and available on the website as well. And we've also broken the webinars down into 2 tracks this year. So the first track is really about folks who may not have been to this event before, or may not have a lot of experience with government contracting. We've got trainings that are going to go into, covering what the event is, how it works. The next event on April 3rd is going to be about creating that great capability statement. And so and then we've got some trainings on government registrations. So you're going to want to be registered with both federal and state systems if you're going to try to go after federal or state contracts. And so we've got information about that, as well as some of those certification processes at the federal and state level. The second track is more advanced, so it's going to get into doing business with specific buyers who will be in attendance at this event. It's going to get more in the weeds and more detailed information. Anyone can attend either track, and I'm sure there's going to be helpful information in either track, but we want to make sure that you are taking a look again on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com, and you're able to either attend those trainings live or review the recordings after the fact. Also, keep an eye on who's registering. So we are going through and updating the list of buyers and suppliers on a regular basis. Do a little bit of homework, and Joey's going to talk more about that. But really, if you go into a specific buyer, knowing some of their needs, knowing some of the end users, talking about how you can solve a specific solution for that agency, that's definitely going to put you ahead of some of the other attendees at this event. By far and away, I think one of the most helpful resources is the Apex Accelerator program. Apex Accelerators provide no-cost one-on-one advising to any small business that is interested in federal, state, or local government contracting. These are individuals who are experts in the field, and this is an economic development program from the state of Ohio. No cost to you to participate, to meet with one of these advisors, and they definitely know their stuff. So you'll get a flavor for that. Joey Scott, who runs the Apex Accelerator program, is going to be presenting right after me. But this is a free resource to any Ohio company. They also have a bid match tool that can connect you with a daily list of solicitations at the federal, state, and local government level that are matched to your business. So hugely impactful, hugely valuable program to support you as you look to get into or expand your government contracting activity. Two other resources I wanted to briefly mention are the Small Business Development Center program, as well as the Minority Business Assistance Center program. SBDCs, or Small Business Development Centers, have the largest footprint in the state in terms of support programs for small businesses. While Apex Accelerators focus on government contracting, SBDCs are really there to help any other business need you may have. So whether it's B2B, business to consumer, whether it's learning to manage your cash flow, or primarily kind of the number one service delivered by SBDCs is accessing capital. Our folks are helping small businesses access loans, package loans, find the right lender for them every single day. You can learn more at the SBDC website and find the location nearest to you at sbdc.development.ohio.gov. Similarly, Minority Business Assistance Centers are there to support any minority business in the state. Their specialization is really in certification programs and helping businesses become certified, especially in the state programs to access some of the state contracting categories. So that kind of covers really this event, what it's about. We love this event because we love supporting small businesses. That is what we do and what our programs do across the state. And we have seen the success that comes from this event firsthand. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions we have. I did notice someone was asking about training opportunities for their small business, especially in a rural area. I would recommend going to meet with your local Apex Accelerator. They can meet with you virtually as well. Get on their distribution list for trainings. Similarly, if you go to the SBDC website, we do over 600 trainings across the state every year. Those are geographically dispersed in-person training, and about half of those are webinar-based trainings as well. So we even have some on-demand trainings on our website as well. So there's a tremendous amount of training that can really help you in any facet of your business operations there on the SBDC website. So I also had a question about, what are the business products and services government buyers are there? What do they need? I kind of referenced this before. Really, it's almost everything. The Air Force Material Command is in charge of the purchasing for every Air Force installation around the globe. So as you can imagine, keeping those installations running and operating requires a tremendous amount of materials and also a lot of construction, a lot of support services for on the base. So without going into details or learning about your specific business, I think the best recommendation I would have is to meet with your local Apex Accelerator. They'll be able to evaluate you, figure out, if your business is procurement ready, and then help you develop a specific strategy, especially if you're new to the government contracting space. So really figuring out at the state or local level where you might want to start out so you can gain experience that will potentially lead to a large government contract. Great. Well, I'm not seeing, it looks like folks have answered the other questions. Again, I encourage you to go visit our website, ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com. You're going to find all of our upcoming trainings. They are tremendously valuable to you in preparing for this event. You'll also find access to the other resource partners like the Apex Accelerator, like the Small Business Development Centers. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Joey, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about making the most of this event.
Thank you, Jim. So good morning, everyone. As you've heard, I am Joey Scott. I am the statewide manager for the Ohio Apex Accelerator program. And so I'm going to talk through the specifics of how to make the most of the matchmaker. All right. And so what that looks like, you already heard a nice overview of the matchmaker. So I'll dive into how to prepare for the matchmaker, what it's like participating in a matchmaker, especially for those of you that are newer to government contracting or newer to the Ohio Business Matchmaker. Want to make sure that you are ready for the experience. And then, how to follow up after the matchmaker, because it's not enough to just go to the matchmaker. You want to make sure that you leverage the connections you make there during the event. And then I'll dive into a bit more about the Apex Accelerator and how we can assist and the rest of the webinars we have planned here. So, as you heard, Jim provided a nice overview of the Ohio Business Matchmaker. It is probably the largest business government matchmaker event in possibly the Midwest. So one thing I just wanted to add here, and it kind of goes into the preparation for a matchmaker, and I'll reiterate this again. Jim touched on it before. You want to make sure that you set your expectations for this event. The goal of this event is networking, growing your connections, getting your business known by some of these buyers, whether it be federal agencies, state, or local. You're not going to get a contract during the event. You are going to get contact info. You are going to get connections and build your network. But do not go in expecting to come out with a contract in hand. There are people that do that, and then they feel let down. The event is focused on networking. So preparing for the matchmaker, and this kind of ties into a way we're trying to revise the process for registration as well. When you are getting ready for the matchmaker, so before you even attend, you want to do your research. And what do I mean by do your research? You want to understand who is going to be there. It's one thing to schedule a meeting with a buyer, but if you don't know what they buy or even the mission of the buyer, whether it's for example, Wright-Patterson has a lot of the Air Force installations. Each one has a different mission. Air Force Material Command is very vast, but it's different in mission from Air Force Research Lab. AFRL is more innovation focused. AFMC is more personnel and other things. So you want to understand who the buyers are and what they buy and how they buy. And so that's why on the Matchmaker website, we are holding back the supplier registration until we get a majority of our buyers on there, so that ahead of time who is going to be there. So you can start doing that research, and you can make an informed decision on if the matchmaker is going to be right for you. And you can always sit down with your Apex counselor or SPDC or any of our partners to talk through if this event is right for you. So that little caveat aside, I want to go back to doing your research. So once you know who's going to be at the event, you want to understand who they are as an agency, what they buy, and how they buy. So that is going to involve a few different research databases. Now, you want to look at historically, what has the agency been buying? So at the federal level, you can look at something called USA Spending. It's a publicly available database that shows all of the federal contracts historically. So what has already been awarded and paid out. USA Spending relates to the Federal Procurement Data System, FPDS. It just makes it a lot more user-friendly. So looking at the historical data, that helps you understand, are they buying what you sell, number one. But number two, it also shows how they are buying. Are they putting it on a contract? Is it a 5-year contract or a 1-year contract? Are they buying off of a what's called a contract vehicle, such as a GSA schedule or a federal supply schedule? So contract vehicles essentially pre-qualify you as a contractor, and then it makes it easier for the government to buy from. If you've ever heard of a GSA schedule, that's like the Amazon marketplace of the federal government, because once you're on the GSA schedule, the government goes to essentially, a similar portal like Amazon, and they can directly purchase from that. Contracts aren't the only way the government buys though. There are opportunities known as simplified acquisitions, which, under $250,000, the federal government only needs to get 3 quotes. And so it's very fast paced. It has to be set aside for small business. So that streamlines the process there. But under $10,000 are opportunities called the micro purchase threshold. And so under $10,000, the federal government can more or less put it on a credit card. And so if you have opportunities under that micro purchase threshold, you definitely want to promote those. And we'll talk about that more when we touch on capability statement later on. But I just want to draw your attention to the importance of the historical research, of understanding not just what the agency is buying, but also how. And putting it on a credit card is a lot simpler than putting it out for bid and having to go through evaluating a bunch of proposals. And that's the federal side. The state side, we're in Ohio, it's the Ohio Business Matchmaker. I'll talk about Ohio. We have what's called the Ohio checkbook. And every state has their own version of a checkbook because of transparency laws. And so you can go on to the Ohio checkbook and see what all the state agencies have bought historically. And again, you can see how, what they're buying and how they're buying. So that's a historical side. And that informs you, it's not just saying, oh, they bought this before. It's saying, hey, they bought this before. Now we know how they bought it. Most likely they're going to buy it again in the future, and they're going to do it in a similar fashion. So you're being more informed for when that opportunity comes up again in the future. So that's the past. You want to also look at present opportunities and future. So present opportunities, especially if you're going into the matchmaker, you want to have in your arsenal what opportunities are out there that apply to you, because who you're talking to might know a little bit about those opportunities. And it shows that you've done your research. It shows that you understand what you have is a fit for what that agency is trying to purchase. So at the federal level, you want to look at the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov. So SAM.gov, that shows you all of the federal opportunities over $25,000. At the state level, you want to look at Ohio Buys. And so that is Ohio's online e-procurement portal. And they're moving all of the agencies and boards and commissions onto that. So it's streamlined and a one-stop shop for the state of Ohio. At the local levels, so if you're looking to sell to cities or counties or what have you, it's a little bit harder to locate. You want to look at each local government's website, if they have one. So that's the current opportunities. Now future. So we talked about past, present. Now we're going to talk about future. Every agency at the federal level has to publish a procurement forecast. And so that shows what opportunities are most likely going to come up in the next fiscal year. Now, it's a forecast. It may or may not happen, but it at least informs you of some of the bigger things, some of the bigger projects and purchases they're expecting. The smaller stuff might not make it on there, but every federal agency has to publish a procurement forecast. State agencies try to publish them too. And so in Ohio, the Department of Admin Services, ODAS, they do a good job of updating the procurement forecast there. So that's how you do some of the research. Now, what do you want to look for? You want to look for open opportunities, but you also want to look for requests for information or sources sought. And so that is, if you see an RFI or sources sought, that is the government doing their own market research to see what businesses are out there. And we'll have a session on all of this, the in-depth details of how to find an opportunity, how to understand if it's right for you, and how to respond in one of the later webinars in this series. So you can look forward to that as well. So you've done your research. How else do you want to prepare for the event? Well, you want to make sure that you can market yourself. You want to promote yourself. Again, the main goal of a matchmaker is networking. And you want to make sure that you leave the buyer with a good impression of your firm and your capabilities. And when you walk out of there, you have gained a new contact and a new relation in your network. So some different tactics we'll talk about: capability statements, business cards, emails, and agency contacts, meaning who you want to focus your efforts on. All right. So capability statement, as you heard Jim mention it briefly before, it is the one-page resume of your company. So just like how you or I as individuals have a resume, we'll talk about all of our past experience, accomplishments, what sets us apart from other employable individuals. Your company needs a resume. It needs a capability statement. And on there, you want to address 5 key areas: core competencies, past performance, differentiators, corporate data, and contact information. So core competencies, that is all about what you do. What products or services do you provide? You do not want to list all of them. You want to list the ones that you offer the best quality for, whether it be product or service, or the ones that are most applicable to who you're going to meet with. I'll circle back to that in just a little bit. We'll skip past performance. We'll talk about differentiators. Differentiators are what sets you apart from your competition. What gives you a competitive advantage against other companies in your industry? And you really want to focus on industry certifications. If you're a manufacturer, do you have a quality standard? Are you ISO certified? If you're in aerospace, do you have the AS standard? You have unique equipment or technology that other companies would not have access to. So whatever truly sets you apart from your competition, you want to list there. Corporate data, this is all about the company. You want to list your registrations. If you're looking for federal opportunities, you want to list your cage code and your unique entity identifier, because that shows you are already registered to sell to the federal government. If you're in the state, you want to list that you're on Ohio Buys. If you have any contract vehicles, like that GSA schedule, you want to list that info. And then if you have any socioeconomic business certifications, are you a small business? Are you a woman-owned small business or 8A small business, a hub zone? There's different federal and state small business certifications that you want to include there if you qualify and are certified under them. And if you are not familiar with the small business certifications at either the federal or state levels, please reach out, and our Apex team SBDC, or even additionally the MBACs can help you through some of those. So MBACs really focus on kind of the state certifications. Apex, we're well versed in the federal and can assist with the state as well. So the fifth thing, and remember I skipped past performance, I'll come back to that, but the fifth thing is contact info. And contact info is usually overlooked, and it's kind of weird to say that, but a lot of companies put a general email or a general phone number on there. And that's a common mistake. You want to put an actual individual. And why would you want to do that? The reason being, if you have a general email on there or a general phone number, and you go to the matchmaker, you as individual A go to that matchmaker, and you have a great conversation with one of the buyers, and you give them the capability statement, and you say, hey, please follow up with me. I'd love to continue this discussion. And you leave that matchmaker, and a few days later, that buyer who you just developed a great relationship with sends an email to that general email or calls that general number. If you are the only person checking those numbers, great. But if you have other people checking that email or checking that number, and the buyer reaches them and they have no clue what's going on, you might lose that progress that you made in developing that relationship. So it's always good to put the point of contact, especially the point of contact of whoever is going to the matchmaker. So past performance, I skipped that because I always like to save it for the last, because it is probably the most important, second only to that point of contact. Past performance is the most important thing to have listed on a capability statement. And that is because it shows previous work you have successfully completed. And it shows that you've completed work similar to what the agency is buying. And it shows that you've completed work at either the federal, state, or local level. And there's a difference in federal work versus state and local. And that difference is federal is a bit more rigid and structured in the procurement process. So if you have federal experience, it tells the agency you've already gone through the process, you understand how the federal government works in procurement, so they feel a little bit more comfortable working with you. It is very difficult for a company to jump straight to federal experience right out of the gate. Usually we tell our clients to start with state and local opportunities and also look at subcontracting opportunities. And even if you are only a subcontractor, you can still list that past performance, especially if it's on a government contract at any level. Because although you are not the prime, you still have experience on a government contract. And so you want to highlight that and promote it. It tells and reassures whoever you're meeting with that you have experience and you know how government contracting works and you can successfully perform. Again, we'll have a more detailed webinar on developing capability statement in the coming weeks. So, still in the vein of preparation, you've done your research, you've developed your capability statement. You also want to bring your business card to the event. Great. Make sure your business card works for you. Oftentimes, a lot of people have a business card that you have the company logo on one side, and then you have your contact info on the other. Some people will argue that that is a bit of wasted space. And so instead of just having a logo on one side and nothing else, you can make that backside of the business card a miniature capability statement. List your cage code or unique entity identifier. List your industry codes, the NAICS codes. List any small business certifications. You got very minimal space to work with, but you can turn it into a small capability statement with some of the key highlights that, again, when you're handing out your business card, it will serve you a lot more in the future because it has that info attached to it. Emails are a great way, as we'll talk about later on, to follow up after matchmaker and keep the conversations going. Whether you are cold calling someone via email or you're following up from the matchmaker, make sure you keep it brief. You include your capability statement as a PDF, but address the email to a specific person. Do not use a mass email approach. The shotgun approach to emailing of "Dear contracting professional" is not going to help you out there. You want to customize it to each individual. And someone is more likely to read an email if it's addressed to them than if it looks like a blanket, email. And usually, especially as firewalls and email security get more advanced, those template-looking emails will get caught up in the spam filter and not even reach the person. But also, in that email, include some of your research or specifics from the conversation you had. Make sure it's tailored to them so that they can remember the conversations you had and remember you. At the networking events, as you heard earlier, leave the big bulky stuff at home. Travel light. Keep your capability statement, keep your business cards. If you have something small to bring with you, great. But I'll give you an example. The company I saw at a matchmaker quite a few years ago, they had a large product, and it was on wheels. It was kind of like a whiteboard, and they were meeting with various buyers, and unfortunately for them, their schedule had them running all around the matchmaking room. And so their matches were not near each other. They were pretty much at the other end of the room each time. So when it was time to change meetings, you would see them with their whiteboard running down the aisle trying to get to the next one. And because of how bulky it was and how crowded the matchmaking space was, they were usually late to the meeting. And so they lost out on precious time because you only have about 10 or 15 minutes to actually talk and build that relationship. So you want to make sure that you leave the bulky stuff at home so you can get to your next meeting on time and maximize the time that you have with the buyer that you're meeting with. So agency contacts. So whether it's who you're meeting at the matchmaker or as part of your research before and after, you want to look for certain individuals with small business specialists, the small business office, contracting officers, procurement center representatives, and if you can, identify the individual buyers within the agencies. Who actually has the need and who's going to use your product or service. And so the small business specialists, every federal agency has a small business office. It's called the Office of Small Business Programs. Their goal is really to be that connective tissue and help bring in small businesses with capabilities and then connect them with opportunities within the greater contracting efforts of that agency. Contracting officers, they're the ones who are issuing the contracts. They are issuing a solicitation, the actual opportunity. They are evaluating your proposals, and then they're issuing the contract to the firm. Procurement center representatives, they are in a similar vein of the specialists, trying to be that connective tissue and provide assistance where possible. Then the individual buyers or end users, they're people with the actual need. You want to network with them if you can, because they'll push that need up to the contracting office, and then that contract gets created, the opportunity, and then is awarded. So that is kind of some people you want to target in your research. LinkedIn is a great opportunity to identify certain individuals within the agency you're trying to research. Also the agency website if they have one. So that's all about the preparation. So research the agency, what they're buying, how they buy it, develop your marketing materials and strategy, and be prepared to walk into the matchmaker. So what do you want to expect in a matchmaker? It's going to be very fast paced. Again, you heard Jim provide a good overview of it. You are going to have limited time. So make sure the do's and don'ts of the matchmaker, make sure you optimize the amount of time that you have. You only have 10 minutes to sit down, pitch your company, and try to build a connection with the buyer. Don't spend 9 of those minutes talking about the history of the company and complaining about how difficult it is to work with the government. Pitch your capabilities, and we'll talk about how to develop your pitch later on. Be agile, be prepared, and be confident. But also understand too, and this is a little bit more for when we were dealing with virtual matchmakers, who you're talking to is a human. Be understanding, considerate of them. They are human. If you're in a virtual matchmaker, this is in person, but sometimes there's technical difficulties, or sometimes the person has to, for the live ones, get up and use the restroom for a break or something. Be understanding. You do have a short amount of time, but they are humans. That is not the only time you have to talk to them. You can schedule time afterwards with them if something happens, or if a buyer, for whatever reason, does not show up to the event. We will help coordinate how you can get in touch with them and schedule time to meet with them. So just remember, the person across from you is a human. They're not just, government. And that's, I don't know what example I'm trying to go there for, but just try to personalize and build that connection. Don't fear that there's a wall between you, but also don't monopolize the meeting. You want to pitch your capabilities, but you want to give them time to talk to you and ask you questions. You don't want to have a 10-minute speech prepared for a 10-minute meeting. You want to have a brief pitch and then show that you've done some research and let the conversation flow naturally. Again, don't complain about the government to a government buyer. That happens more often than you might think. And so this is, we've had clients go to a matchmaker, sit down with an agency they've been trying for years and years to contract with, and then just complain about all the issues they've had. The government buyer may have never heard of your company before. They do not want to hear about all the reasons why you've not been able to contract with them, win a contract. Focus on the positives. If you want to complain, come complain to the Apex Accelerators. We are here to help. We'll let you vent and get the frustrations out, and we'll kind of talk through a strategy on how to address them and rectify them. The matchmaker is not time to do that. Also, again, don't discount the person across from you. Sometimes the person you're meeting with from an agency is not the contracting officer, or they might not have anything to do with contracting. It might be an engineer who had to fill in for somebody. Whatever it may be, if you feel like the person you're meeting with is not the right person, that's okay, because they may not be the right person for you at that moment, but they can help connect you with the right people down the road. So don't discount the person across from you, even if you're having a bad meeting. So we're talking about the importance of the pitch. You want to perfect your pitch beforehand so that when you're in the matchmaker, you have a clear, concise explanation of your capabilities. So 4 pillars of a great pitch: clarity. Some statistics show that an adult's attention span is only 8 seconds. So you want to make sure that you address, your core competencies and your past performance very quickly and clearly. All right. Practice your pitch. Don't just say we're going to wing it and go into the matchmaker without a pitch in mind. Practice it. Run it by your team, even, or a peer mentor, a business colleague, whoever. Run it by them and make sure that it sounds clear. One of the best things you can do when you're preparing a pitch is present it in front of somebody and ask them to tell you, repeat back what you just said. Like, what did you get out of my pitch? And if they say, if your company, let's say you're selling milk products, and you give a pitch, and the person across from you says, "Oh, well, you're selling tires." Clearly, the pitch is not clear and concise. But that's good feedback to have, so that you can refine it, so that when you're conveying what you do and how you do it, it is understood. Keep it simple. Cut out the jargon. Oftentimes, we have a habit of using acronyms or other language or jargon that we are used to in our own industry or our own business, that may not be commonly understood by other individuals who are not in our business. For example, government has acronyms, lots and lots of acronyms. Not everyone understands those acronyms. You may be a great engineer or a great IT person. You can talk about cybersecurity all day long, but whoever is across from you might not understand the specifics. So try to keep your pitch simple. Keep the jargon out. And passion. You want your passion for your business and what you do to shine through. So don't be so monotone and rehearsed that your passion for your livelihood and your business does not shine through. You want it to shine through. So in creating your pitch, there's some 6 steps to success here. You want to start off with a hook. Capture that imagination with a unique and compelling opening. That could be about your business. It could be about open opportunity, whatever it may be. Start off with a hook, then address a problem that the agency has. This could be an open opportunity, or it could be a past opportunity that did not go well, or it could be a need that the agency has, but you're not seeing opportunities out there for it. Identify from your research a problem or a need the agency has, then offer a unique solution, your company, your products or services. Talk about the team that you have under you. Talk about the traction. So what does traction mean? And basically, once you've got their attention, you've shown that you've done your research and you have a solution, keep the conversation going. All right. Ask questions. Ask, if it was not clear how they might contract, ask them, hey, are there any opportunities to put it on a credit card? Make it, simplified. And then close your pitch. Ask for a follow-up meeting, ask for a business card. Again, do not expect to get a contract immediately out of this. So do not ask for a contract, but do ask for a follow-up to keep the conversation going. And know your goal. Like I said, you want to set expectations before you go into the event. Is your goal simply to inform the buyer you exist? Do you want to discuss a specific opportunity you found from your research? Whatever your goal is, focus on that and try to stick to it. Do not try to get a contract out of the initial meeting. And know your audience as well. One of the worst things you can say is, hey, this is what I do, buy from me. Or tell us what you need and we'll get it for you. I will tell you from talking with contract officers and other contracting professionals, companies that reach out saying, tell us what you need, we'll get it for you, rarely get another meeting or continue that conversation. Why? Because the government doesn't understand that what you do. And they realize there's no company that can do everything. All right. So you want to focus on understanding what the agency buys and how your products and services line up to their needs, and focus on that. Less is more. We all have a natural tendency to talk a lot, especially about things we are passionate about. Try to keep it clear and concise, and do not ramble on. Do not provide more details than necessary. Let them have time to ask questions. Try to build that rapport. Again, you're trying to build a relationship. They are a human. Show that you've done your research. Try to understand their pain points, and go from there. And then again, don't practice so much that you have it memorized and it's monotone. but do practice so that you're comfortable and it feels like a natural conversation. So, talk about how to prepare for matchmaker. We talked about what to expect during it and how to conduct yourself. Following up. So once the matchmaker is over, you want to make sure that you keep the conversation going. So before your meeting ends, try to identify how the buyer prefers to communicate. Do they like phone or email? Again, if you met with the wrong person, try to ask them to help you make that connection with the right person within their agency. Also keep in mind that contracting professionals talk amongst themselves. So what does that mean? It means somebody from the Army maybe talking to somebody from the Air Force or the Navy, or in state of Ohio, the different agencies, they're going to talk amongst themselves. So even though you're meeting with someone in one agency or one buying entity, they may be talking to other people as well. So they might have more connections for you. The reason I say find out if they like phone or email, every contracting person has a different preference. And so if you are trying to call somebody, they may never answer the phone because they prefer email, because they want to have everything in writing. Or they like to have the phone calls. And so they get so many emails, they might miss things. So they're less likely to respond. One other thing to mention, and I don't know that it'll necessarily apply to people you meet here in Ohio, perhaps some of the prime contractors, but one thing to keep in mind is if the person you're meeting with happens to actually reside in a different time zone, don't call them if the time zone is off. So I was at a conference a few weeks ago and I heard somebody complain about how they are on Pacific time and they get calls from people on Eastern time all the time at 5 a.m. Well, Eastern time, that's 8 a.m. So little trick there. Again, not as applicable here, but you may run into that at some point in your contracting career. So after the meeting ends, do follow up. Send an email with your capability statement, reference what you talked about. Do look for sources sought, requests for information, actual opportunities from the agency you met with, and respond to those. And try to attend other networking events. The Matchmaker is not the only event in the world. There are industry days, there are small business conferences, there are pre-bid meetings. There's a number of other events where you can go and network and potentially meet the same people you talk to at the Matchmaker. And then don't forget to touch base with your, what was formerly called PTAC is now the Apex Accelerator, or the Small Business Development Center, and MBAX as well can help. So that's how you can prepare for the Matchmaker beforehand, during, and after. And we talked about how the Apex can really assist. So I want to provide you just a brief overview of the Apex program in case you are not familiar with it. So we are funded in part by the Department of Defense. And then here in Ohio, is Department of Development. And we have 3 local partners who you can see their logo has been on every slide here. Youngstown State University, Ohio University, and Rhodes State College. So we have a statewide network of Apex counselors who can assist you via one-on-one meetings. And we provide lots of trainings throughout the year. So we focus on helping Ohio businesses become procurement ready, experience procurement success, and stay in the government marketplace. Becoming procurement ready, it's all on the front end, helping you position yourself for success, getting registered at the federal, state, and some local levels, helping you develop your capability statement, understanding, agency buying habits. We can walk you through some of that research. We also have research databases that are available to us that we can conduct some of that federal and state research to help you in your own research. And then we also help put on matchmakers like this and other events throughout the year. We also have that bid search program where based on a Google keyword search, just like you would search for contract opportunities, we can automate that through the bid search program, and it'll send you emails daily on opportunities matching those keywords. And we just transitioned providers, so it's a little different than what we were used to, but we are all getting more adjusted to it and helping our clients refine those keywords as much as we can. And you can always refine the keywords. So second bucket, procurement success. It's all about helping you find the opportunities, respond to them, and perform. So we can review solicitations with you. If you find an opportunity, we can review it with you before you write your response. We can also review your response, your proposal, to make sure that it is responsive and responsible. You are following the directions of the opportunity. We cannot write anything for you. We are not an agent of the company, so we are not permitted to write a response for you. But we can review the opportunity with you, make sure it's applicable to you, and we can review your response, your proposal, before you submit it. We can also help you understand contract clauses before or after you win the contract, and we can talk about strategy on how to leverage your past performance to get more successes. Then the last bucket here of staying in procurement, really helping you maintain compliance, understanding you have to renew your entity registrations, at least in the federal level, annually, and the same registration is free, 100% free. Helping our DoD clients understand the cybersecurity requirements. We also have a free cyber assistance program that we're developing and piloting right now throughout the state. And then we can also help you look for other opportunities, whether that be with other federal, state, or local agencies, or innovation, if the small business innovation research opportunities apply to you. And then our federal funders, the DoD have asked us to innovate and provide some additional assistance on educating clients on foreign ownership, control, and influence, cybersecurity, innovation, and EPA Title III there. Also, just real quickly, here in Ohio, very proud to say that we have developed a procurement internship program. So we're all about innovative collaborations here in Ohio, and so we piloted this program last year. We're in the second year this year, where companies who have some success already in the government marketplace may be eligible to receive an intern. You have to apply, and it's dependent on the number of interns we have and all that. So we're growing the program across the state slowly. It started in Northeast Ohio, and it was such a phenomenal year last year. And actually our Apex Accelerator National Organization just recognized it for a couple of awards. So really proud of that program and the success it has had already and will continue to have. So Apex Accelerators, this is kind of the summary here. We are your one-stop shop for all things government contracting. All right, so we can help you throughout the entire process, every step of the way, as long as it touches government contracting. As Jim mentioned, if your assistance required is outside of the realm of government contracting, that's where we will connect you with our resource partners like the Small Business Development Center and Minority Business Assistance Centers and the SBA and whoever else you really need to connect with. We will help make that connection. We're very proud of our clients in Ohio. Last year and the year before, our clients won over $2.1 billion, or sorry, $1.2 billion. So that's $2.4 billion over the last 2 years. And it's billion with a B, and most of our clients' contracts here are federal prime contracts, meaning they are the lead on the contract. And as Shonda's been mentioning throughout the chat, there is an Apex Accelerator near you. So if you're not familiar where it is, you can take a look at our website or send me an email. I'll get you connected with our team in your area. We provide statewide coverage. And so there's an office near you. We can meet in person, or we can also assist virtually as well. So the last thing before I pause for questions, this webinar series. So every year we do the Matchmaker, we put together a webinar series beforehand to help our companies prepare. And so this year we're trying something a little unique. We've broken it down into 2 tracks, as you heard Jim talk about. And so track 1 is really focused on companies who are new to the Matchmaker or new to government contracting. Track 2 are focusing on how to do business with specific agencies. So if you're a little bit more advanced, you've been to the Matchmaker before, or you're experienced government contractor, check out track 2, because you'll hear from representatives of all of those agencies on how you can do business directly with those agencies. So you'll get a copy of these slides and recording. They'll be posted on the Ohio Matchmaker website. And so on the Matchmaker website, you can not only register for the webinars, but you can also access the recordings and slides when they are made available. So I will say the recordings take a few days to process and get them ready for posting. So do check back periodically after a webinar has concluded. So with that, that is everything I had on making most of a Matchmaker and really preparing yourself for success there. So I will I'll pause there for any questions. I think I see one, kind of a business that is considered large attend. It depends on what you mean by large. So there's kind of 2 parts to this question, the way I'll address it here. If you are a large prime contractor, you can attend as a buyer, meaning you are looking to meet with small businesses to potentially get subcontractors. You're trying to develop your pool of subcontractors, you would want to register as a buyer. However, if you are small, you may be large under one NAICS code, but you're small under another NAICS code, and you want to meet with the buyers, you can definitely register as a supplier and meet with buyers. Jim or Shonda, anything else you wanted to add there?
I think in addition to that, you just want to make sure that when you say large at the federal government, you determine if you're large or not by your NAICS codes that Jim mentioned, your North American Industry Classification. So if you primarily have services, the SBA does have and it just slipped my mind, but there is a list for your NAICS code. If you're manufacturing, it's going to be based on the number of employees that you have. And if it's services, it's based on your gross receipts. So you do want to look at the size standards, the SBA size standards chart, and I can post that in the Q&A chat there. And you can determine if you are large, which the federal government actually says is other than small. So just make sure that that you are large. So let me do that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Shonda. And for those who may not be familiar with federal government size standards, you can be pretty large. You could have 500 or even 800 employees in some cases and still be considered small for the sake of government contracting. So, 99% of Ohio businesses are actually considered small. So it's likely you probably fit under that definition unless you're at a really large corporation or you're part of a company that is a holding company with multiple lines of business with a lot of employees.
Correct. It's typically under your construction, IT companies, what's considered large is anything over your $36.5 million in revenue. So if you're below that threshold, then you would still be small. I don't see any other question. Joey, I don't think we have any more questions. Are you going to go over the next couple of webinars, like the one that'll be this afternoon, and then the webinars that will take place next week?
Yeah, certainly. Let me pull that up real quick. So just show everyone here. So today, March 27th, you just saw the Making the Most of the Matchmaker. This afternoon will be the first in our, more seasoned contractor series, track 2. So it'll be doing business with the state of Ohio and the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. So we have James Yagovich from state of Ohio. He will talk about how Ohio, as a whole, kind of procures goods and services, and he'll talk about Ohio Buy specifically. Again, that's that e-procurement portal I mentioned that really Ohio drives almost all opportunities to. And then the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission will have Mr. Jeff Westhaven, I think it is. So he will talk about how specifically OFCC handles procurement. And so if you're not familiar with OFCC, they handle a lot of construction opportunities, especially with state entities, universities include. A lot of university construction will be funneled through OFCC. So if you're in the construction field and you want to take a look at that, that'd be very valuable as well. Next week, we have 2 webinars, April 3rd. So track 1 at 10 a.m., conducting effective market research and perfecting capability statements. So you heard me touch on the, what research you really want to do. This will dive into how to conduct that, how to interpret research and really position yourself for success, as well as how to really perfect that capability statement. And it'll dive in depth on each section that I highlighted here today. And then in the afternoon on April 3rd, track 2 will be doing business with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, as well as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. So if you're interested in how to do business with those specific entities, you want to check that out as well. So, and again, I just like to reiterate, if you're newer to Ohio Business Matchmaker, or you're newer to government contracting, obviously you can register for all of these, but I think you're going to get the most out of track 1, because this is really positioned to help you get a leg up and really dive into the realm of government contracting. And all of these are recorded, and all the slides and the recordings will be made available to you shortly after each webinar.
Well, if we don't have any further questions, I think we can go ahead and close out. Definitely want to thank again Mr. Jim Lakely and Joey Scott. Really provided some great information, a great overview for the Ohio Business Matchmaker, especially for those that are new to the event. And Joey provided a lot of great details as far as what you can do to get prepared. So I would recommend that you do follow up with those tracks of training to align with, if you're new to the matchmaker, then that track, the training track number 1. And then if you're more seasoned, training track number 2. And then of course you can always go back to the replays and look at the recording leading up. And then I don't know if we mentioned, I think they're about full. We are having mock matchmakers. So those that are new to the matchmaker and you've never participated, just learning how to pitch. I thought that was a great slide that Joey had as far as the different stages of perfecting your pitch. So in addition to working on that, actually having a chance to practice that in front of a panel of judges from the state, government entities as well as federal government. So we will also be having those opportunities for you to pitch your capability statements and for you to practice that. Well, again, we definitely want to thank you for your time. We are grateful and looking forward to the Matchmaker and presenting more webinars for the rest of this month. And we definitely encourage you to follow up with your local Apex Accelerator counselor so that you can start working on creating and crafting your capability statement. And then also just working with them to see which agencies are the best, that have the best fit for what you, your services or your goods that you provide. And then any questions that you may have. And we ask that you enjoy your day, and we look forward to you plugging into additional webinars. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.